Welcome to the Joyfulicity podcast. I'm your host, Laura Wakefield. My guest today is Armah Mitchem. I met Armah years ago. We actually worked at the same gym. I knew his children better than I knew him because I was in the child care center. And I didn't get to know him real well until we met up again in a Toastmasters group. And I can tell you, Armah, in addition to being a personal trainer, is also an amazing public speaker, loving father, fantastic husband. He's just an all-around wonderful person. So I was thrilled when he agreed to be on the show today. Welcome, Armah.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for that introduction. That's so sweet of you to say.
It's so good to have you here. You gave a speech one time back in the Toastmasters days. You moved away, I moved away. I haven't seen you for a long time, but your speech stayed with me. And the topic of that speech was the concept of balance. That's what I had told you earlier. I wanted to talk a little bit about today. You have been a personal trainer for how long now?
Since 2009, so quite a
Wow,
while.
so quite some time. Tell me about balance and how it relates to fitness, body fitness in particular, to start with.
Yeah, I would start off with saying mentally balanced would be a good way to start with your physical. A lot of people, whenever they come to me, they have a little bit of a void or a little bit of a balance leaning towards the visual aspect, but there is an emptiness on the inside. So I guess the out of the exterior is taking over. They see something, they're missing something on the inside, but tilts to looking to the outside to try to fix something internally. And a lot of times you'll see those, I call those the biggest loser moments, where somebody breaks down and has that cry because they finally found out that it wasn't necessarily something that they see on the outside that they needed to fix right away. But once they fixed the inside, the outside started to make more progress and make more sense. As far as fitness and balance, I would definitely say that it's really easy for me to help you on the outside, but all of the results start to multiply once you start to fix on the inside. And then we get to start working together. And things can be really fun after there's that common balance as far as the physical as in the internal, or the external and internal. And we start to really have some fun in the gym because you're able to enjoy just the time it's your time, right?
Exactly. That's interesting to me because I know that when we start feeling depressed or like out of sync with life, so often we look in the mirror and we're not happy with how we look. We're overweight. We don't feel like we're healthy. And we think that if we can just fix that, that we'll be
Mhm.
better.
Yeah, it's just kicking the can down the road, I guess. You kick it a little bit of a distance. There's a little bit of a walk to it. Then you go and kick it a little bit further. That's the analogy that kind of pops into my head whenever I'm looking for reasons. So if I don't like the way this aspect of my body is, and then I don't like the way this aspect of my body is, and so it's really a genuine imbalance as far as your perception of what needs to be fixed throughout your life. It's the external things. Well, I don't like the way my legs feel, or my butt feels, or my abs look this way, or my arms, or, but really, if you start to fix some of the internal things, you start to make it all make sense. And then it's not 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 now equals 4, 5, or 6, just because you've gotten commonalities. Two heads came together, me as a personal trainer helping you as the trainee. We both meshed our ideas together to amplify the results that you get. That's why even all the professionals, they have their own coaches and trainers, managers. There's managers for baseball teams, football teams, basketball teams. There's people that are at the center of it and give that idea to them to help them focus their talents. There's a whole lot of talent, from the big men in basketball to the little point guards or the smaller point guards. And it's more about just getting everybody working on the same page. You're really good at passing the ball. You're really good at dunking the ball. You're really good at shooting the ball. How can we all make this make sense? That's the relationship that you build with a personal trainer. Let me help you make it make sense.
I have found, along with what you were saying, that it's very difficult to separate that mind and body. Like you really can't. And either
Yeah.
place that you start to do work starts to spill over into the other. and change you.
Yeah.
So if you work on the mind, it's funny, oftentimes your body just kind of comes along. And if you work on your body and start to feel successful there, sometimes the mind comes along as well. And that's kind of like you said, a 1-2 punch, that you're getting more benefit than you thought you were from the effort that you're putting in.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for sure.
So I've started doing yoga on a pretty serious level, and balance in yoga is a big thing. And starting just from the physical standpoint, I didn't realize until I started doing yoga how off balance I was. When I
Hmm.
first started trying to do some of these poses that required you to be able to balance, it was a struggle bus for real. Like, I was really having a hard time. I was falling over. Talk to me about how people can, on a just a physical level, improve their physical balance.
Physically, let's just talk about what I do as a personal trainer. And I think that might help to understand it. But as a personal trainer, I always talk about the 5 areas. The 5 areas of personal training is the strength training aspect, the breaking it down the muscles through a external force. Usually it could be your body weight, but it can also be dumbbells, bands, or machine weights, or even yoga. Or yoga, I guess that's your personal body weight. But breaking down through the physical aspect of it. The second thing that I focus on is the cardio aspect of it. Cardio is just energy expending through action. So it's intentionally moving your body for a certain period. So it's intentionally running, it's intentionally riding a bicycle, or dancing, or just moving in a certain way that you want to burn energy. Okay. The third aspect that I work with people is with nutrition and the physical things that you put into your body. So I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, but I am there to hold you accountable to the things that you're eating. If you pick out an eating program that you want to adapt, how can I help you optimize that better? So that's the physical aspect of eating. The third aspect is the activity. So this is the unintentional use of energy. This is just walking around. So when people say, "Oh, I went to New York and we walked a whole lot," that's good and that's activity, and I want you to continue that. But there's a difference between that and doing cardio activity. Cardio is intentional, just having to go 2 more blocks because that's where the closest bathroom is. That's unintentional activity, but it's still very important. Or instead of sitting in front of your computer watching social media, you're intentionally listening to audiobooks and cleaning your house. So you're still moving your body. And then the last aspect, the fifth aspect that I work with on the physical is with sleep. So making sure that you have the right amount of sleep. So with all those other 4 aspects, your body doesn't do very much to improve your body until you shut it down and you're able to get some good quality sleep. So where they say the phrase abs are created in the kitchen, no, abs are provided nutrients in the kitchen, but they're not utilized till you get the sleep. So the people that sleep very short hours are missing out on a lot of the great results that they should be accumulating because they're not sleeping full amounts at nighttime. It's like saying, I want to build a house, but you can only build this house within a 3-month time frame, when really it takes 8 months to really build that house. So you've only given those people 3 months. So they're constantly trying to siphon some extra time here or there to build that house. But in all reality, it's going to take longer to build that house because you're not providing the right amount of time. So give your body 8 hours a night, or 8 months to really properly build the house that you're looking to achieve. But as far as what does it take to balance it all out, those 5 areas, the strength training, cardio, nutrition, the activities you choose, and the sleep, are the 5 areas of balance. And a lot of people can haphazardly get those physical improvements by just kind of sleeping regularly. They drink a little water, they stop eating out at restaurants, so they naturally eat better when they're at home. And oh yeah, they don't necessarily go to the gym, but they'll do sit-ups and push-ups at home every night, and they go take the dog for a walk, but they need to get around and take the dog for a walk before they go to work. So they have to rush to get it done. So there's intentional movement. So you can haphazardly lose a whole lot of weight by just doing these things, but it's more important, in my opinion, to know what you're doing with all five of those, just in case that weight creeps back into you or onto you, I should say. That way you can say, I put on a lot of weight last year, but last year I was doing X, Y, and Z. And so let me get back to that. For me personally, I record most of my workouts. 95% of the time I record workouts and know how much weight that you were lifting. So if we say, let's get back to what we were doing a year ago, and here's the weights that we started with, and here's the weights that we ended with, and let's try to improve on those numbers. That's my aspect of physical balance and a little bit of an insight into what I do as a trainer, and my approach, my mindset is always to achieve those five areas of emphasis.
I want to come back to a couple of things that you said, because I think for
That
me,
was a
as
handful. So yeah.
who has yo-yoed around with my weight, having had a bunch of children, my weight has gone up and down around all of my life. I've come to see this, that it has to be hard. It has to be a massive chore. It has to be painful. It has to be successful. You have to, and I kind of love that you're saying not necessarily. You just have to, I mean, sleep is important. Sleep's not hard, but yet somehow we neglect it. So just
Yeah.
focusing on keeping all of those things in balance. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I think, oh, if I'm going to lose weight, I have to be out running 10 gazillion miles and wearing myself out.
Let's say you had three children, and if you were to think on paper, let's say you just journaled a little bit of your workout, you'd remember the process. I was the fittest on my second child, but the first child I was, but is that accurate? And so you have to go back to the notes and say, if you thought on paper, then you'd be able to see that's not really true. I was really just skating off of the hard work that I had on after my first child, that the second child was easier. Now you're on to the third. So what does it take to actually make that happen? So think on paper and record those numbers. It's just like the people that scales. They hate the scale. The scale is not good or bad. The scale is just a scale. It's just telling you a number. Now, if you were to record your scale weights, and you would see how you're losing weight or making progress through your journey, then you would have a better understanding of what's going on. So, was it really that you put on 5 pounds after each child or X number of pounds after each child? No, that wasn't the case, but you had some ups and downs, and actually, you might be 15 pounds heavier, or you might be less than what you did. You don't really know that. You just remember how it was at the end of the journey. So it's like training to run a marathon. All right. At the very end of your marathon training, you might be able to run a 2 hour half marathon or a 4 hour marathon. I'm just throwing out numbers here. In the beginning, it took you 3 hours to run that half marathon, or it took you 7 hours to run that marathon. So all you go back to say, let me get back to running for a half marathon or a marathon. And I just remember that I was at 2 hours or so and so hours to run that thing. You just remember the end, but you forgot completely what it took to get to that end point. And so I love that you're doing the yoga journey, and I love the people that get yoga. So here's the funny thing is that the hardcore bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts don't understand how people are losing weight in yoga often, because it's very calisthenics based. But once you get into that yoga mind, once you get into that quote unquote flow of that yoga lifestyle, you don't need to have all the junky foods. You don't want to have all the junky foods. You want to move your body in a certain way. You want to have that balance, but you often notice what's off kilter, what's off center, and that helps you make better decisions. So I go back to chiropractors, and I often say that I don't see out of shape chiropractors very often, because they align themselves. They say balance. I don't often see misaligned yoga instructors, because they often practice balance. Now I will see some out of shape bodybuilders, because they don't have the right balance. They off season, they might eat like a sumo wrestler or eat a lot of food for one part of the year, but then another part of the year they eat very strict and very regimented. So that's not the right kind of balance. That's a very unhealthy aspect and a very regimented health balance in season versus off season. So I think that might be sort of what you're getting at, as far as having kids, or just you or any woman having children, or any man that goes through different seasons, any person that goes through different seasons of life. If you're not recording on paper, whether it's just the notes app on your phone or writing into a journal or having a workout journal or any other way to know where you're starting and tracking those results, you will often miss out. And so trying to pull it back full circle, just like the scales, I compare Monday to Monday. Don't compare Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday with a
Mm.
scale because you're not going to be happy with the results. If you weigh yourself on Monday, you have one regiment of the day, and then on Wednesday, there's a completely other. But most people weigh heavier on Monday because you're coming off of the weekend, and lighter on Friday because you had a regimented day to 5 days of waking up consistently to go to work, and then you're not snacking while you're at work. So that kind of balance, it's not fair to say, well, at the beginning of the week I was heavier, and at the end of the week I was lighter, and then now it's Sunday and I'm heavier because I went crazy buck wild on Friday and Saturday, and now you're holding a bunch of sodium. So there's a flow to it, and unless you really stay true to one core eating program, the scale's not going to be fair to you. So it's important to weigh yourself every day and take the 7 day average of those weights, or just weigh yourself one day a week, or just consistently know if you're making progress in those areas. Does that make sense? Hopefully I didn't
It
confuse
does.
people there, but
I liked what you said about intention. Intention, of course, is something we talk about a lot in yoga. I like that you said that it's not just about doing the activity, it's about doing it intentionally.
absolutely.
Having a plan and then tracking that plan can make all the difference in that. You were saying that people don't understand how you lose weight with yoga. It's actually remarkable because you are so focused and you were so intentional about your movements that even something that before I did it, I would see people doing some of these moves like a tree pose that doesn't really look that hard. You're just standing there until you do it. And then you realize that, I mean, I will start sweating like crazy doing moves that from the outside don't look that hard, but you're so focused and intentionally putting your body into a position. It's amazing how all those little micro movements of your muscles add up and really can get you.
Yeah.
It's exhausting sometimes.
Yeah, but you're also present in the moment, right? And you're focused on just paying attention for quite a bit of time, and you can hear how your body's not necessarily hungry, but you're just tired, and you just need to slow things down and listen when you hold those long form poses. Now, I'm a big fan of the slower facets of yoga, so I like long holds. I like very deliberate movements whenever I'm going to yoga. I can't do the fast flows, like it doesn't work for me. But the slower ones where I can listen to my body, wow, I'm achy right there. Or I notice, wow, I have all this energy. How can I better utilize it after I leave this gym? And man, it just slow. That's the best part about yoga. I love that part.
Well, in the smallest changes, I'll be doing a pose, I think correctly, and then my teacher will come along and just move me like 2 inches to the
Mm.
left or something. And it's like, oh, that's a completely different feeling that I didn't feel before. And I would think when you're working with clients in the gym that the same is true. You see people at the
Yeah.
gym lifting weights haphazardly, but having a trainer that actually can tell you how to do it properly, the smallest change can make a huge difference, right?
Yeah, man. I'm a man of jack of many trades. Is that the phrase? But spent a period of 7 years as a amateur bodybuilder, and I would compete in competitions, and they would often talk about the mind muscle connection. And so people in bodybuilders take a little bit from them, right? So they go from that out of shape form over to that in shape, very muscular, very low body fat. And what do they take from that? It's very much just like yoga, where they take their time, they're very intentional with their movements, they're lifting just to work one aspect of their body. It's their arms, it's their chest, it's their legs. They're trying to find those little details. And so I appreciate bodybuilders. And when in my journey, I started at one point, I joined a 12-week challenge, and I was able to lose 23 pounds in 3 months because I was working with a trainer, and I just asked him, what's it going to take for me to do what you're doing? He was also an amateur bodybuilder. He's like, you're doing everything right. Don't change anything. Just put intentionality behind it. And over the next 8 to 9 months, basically the next year, I was able to lose 62 pounds. And it was mostly just because I got intentional of for where I was going and what I was doing. There's no difference. I mean, all of the rules that you should be eating better. You should lift weights. You should get a little bit of cardio in to move your body and burn some energy. And on top of that, you have to go to work. So that activity, that fourth aspect that I talked about earlier, that's getting the emails in, getting the work done, make sure the kids are where they should be. So you have to be intentional with your time. Once again, that intentional word, intentional with your time, and make sure it's all done by X time of the day so that you can get so many hours of sleep. That bodybuilder, and I'm not saying that you need to be a bodybuilder. I'm not saying that you need to be a yoga specialist, but
Right.
if you can kind of put those tools together, put those pieces together, the intentionality really starts to happen. And if you can find a enjoy, whether it's to be a better yogi for yourself, or put both hands onto the floor to stretch, be able to stretch and put your hands to the floor, or be able to look a certain way like bodybuilders do, or to just be a better 5K runner, parent, or some kind of external aspect, you do have to turn on that internal switch of intentionality. I'm doing this because I want this result of being able to have flexibility, being able to look this way, being able to do this with my kids, being able to go for a long walk with my spouse, not huffing and puffing. So you put that intentionality through your gym time, through your cardio activity, through the nutrition, through the activities of your day, being a better boss, being a better employee. Look at who you are as a podcast host, or who you are as a real estate investor, how you are as a project manager at work. You put the intentionality. If you manage other people and you see them slacking off, where's the balance? What are they doing? It's not balanced when they're slacking off, showing up to work 10 minutes late, only getting so many emails taken care of, only doing this, but they expect the balance of you paying them at the end of the day. That's not balanced. So you have to go back to that job agreement, right? You have to go back to that original goal to say, hey, here's what we signed up for. This is why you got this job. This is why I'm going to the gym. This is why I attend this boutique yoga studio, so that I can get this result, so that I can live this life. Why did you have kids? So that I can be a better parent. Yes, intentionality is part of balance. If you ever try to balance a scale, you have to be intentional of where you place those weights on that scale to get to that number. Intentionality is the glue that sticks it all together. I love it. You're
Oh,
making
I
me a
love that.
believer
I
in
love that
intentionality.
analogy. That's
I didn't
that's
even know that about myself.
well, so that kind of leads me to my next question, actually. So we do all this stuff. We get with the trainer maybe, and we reach a goal. We run that marathon, or we lose this amount of weight. I've done that before in my life. At one point in time, after my last baby, I lost 90 pounds and I was in the best shape of my life, right? We reached these huge goals. What happens though? Because so often, so many of us, we know what to do because we did it. We achieved it and we love
Hmm.
the results of it. And then we let it go and
Yeah.
get back out of shape and we go backwards again. What
Hmm.
happens when that happens? Like what's going on there?
We've seen people lose weight on the Twinkie diet, the Subway diet, the keto diet, the all these diets. If I'm completely honest, they all work to lose weight. But here's the thing, it's not so much that we don't want to do them anymore. It's just that the other things get more convenient for us to do. McDonald's doesn't sell burgers to make you unhealthy. McDonald's sells burgers to make you enjoy your time eating a burger. So they don't want you to be unhealthy. They just want you to buy their food. And so it gets really easy to do that. I think about those people that kind of molded the health culture, and it's somebody like Jack LaLanne who says, eat the vegetables and drink the juice. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just that marketing gets really good. So remember back in the 90s, 80s, a long time ago when restaurants closed at 8 and 9 o'clock at night. You couldn't find a restaurant open longer than 9 p.m. But now you can go to as easy as the corner gas station to get anything you want. You can get sushi at gas stations. You can go for sushi to pizza to tacos to hot dogs. You can eat whatever you want at any point. And so once again, I'll bring it back to intentionality. If you give yourself that's why intermittent fasting has become so popular, is because I have to be intentional with the food that I eat within this time frame. There's no secret to intermittent fasting. You're just eating less calories. You just committed to not eating it before this time or after this time. But it's calorie reduction. But it's also intentionality of calorie reduction. There's no secret to intermittent fasting. You just eat less. Your body's able to process that food. You have the activities along with it. So the same activities, but I'm eating in a shorter window. There's not a whole lot of science behind that other than less calories in,
And I
and
think
more
some of the
calories burned.
principles really are so basic, so simple. It's not that we don't know. We do know. It's just that something went out of whack. Maybe in the rest of our
Mhm.
life. You kind of hinted at that earlier, that in order to be able to stay intentional here, we also have to be finding balance in the other areas of our life. Like you hear the term work-life balance a lot and
Mhm.
home life balance. Talk to me about how these concepts apply in those other areas of our life, because I don't think that we can have it just one place, or we end up getting knocked back off kilter again. For me, like usually what happens isn't that I stopped wanting to do the fitness, it's that life got crazy somewhere else. And if I had
Yeah.
maintained balance at work or balance at home, I probably would still be in balance physically.
Yes. I guess what I would say is that it's important to be health conscious, but you've got to be conscious on all areas of your life. But that does not mean that they all take precedence at the same time. So you
Mhm.
cannot multitask, and multitasking makes it kind of hard. And it's not that you are wrong or that you're a bad person for losing focus on yourself, but it's just a different season of your life. And so, in order for you to get back to what's important for you personally, you just have to reset. And so, thinking on paper, go back to those days where you were feeling the best and just try to recount what you were doing, what your life was back then, and this doesn't, and I'm saying you personally because you're asking me the question, but
Right.
anybody that's listening to this can just go back, and you can start by thinking on paper right now. What were you doing then, or what is your ideal life now? And write out your full day. I work with trainers, so I kind of alluded to having a trainer back then, but I go on and off of having a personal trainer for myself physically, as well as a business coach. And I'll have those throughout my year, and I alternate between the two. But when I worked with a business coach a while ago, and he had me write out my ideal week. And it was so fascinating. I'd never done that before, but I wrote out on Monday, I want to wake up at this time. I want to get this done. I mean, I micromanaged my whole life for a week span. And it was really changing for me because how do you make a year? You take 1 week and then you multiply it by four, and then take that four and then you multiply that by 12, and now you
Mm,
have a whole year. If you just get really good, and like I said with the scale, you can't compare Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday. You just want to make the best Monday that you can have. And coming off of a weekend, what does the ideal day look like? Don't compare Monday to Tuesday because you're going to lose yourself. Now, how did I start my week this week, and how did I start my week the next week and the week after that? And then you collect all these Mondays and you only have 52 of them to work with. But you go through a section of it and you just get really good at that. So, as far as the work life balance, write it all out. I'm a big fan of just thinking on paper because you can kind of see and you can tweak it a little bit. And it doesn't mean that you have to live up to that, but that's the
right.
roadmap of what you want to do. You woke up 15 minutes later, but you still have the same things that you have to accomplish. Now, what do you leave out, or where can you speed up so that you can stay on track to making it? It's student loan. It's getting out of debt. Take the same policies of getting out of debt. Dave Ramsey talks about all that same stuff. Go with the smaller things, get knock those out of the way, so now you have more time for the bigger things.
I love that because so I did that. I'm a big believer in that too. I've never heard it said think on paper, but I love that phrase. And I'm going to start thinking that every time I need to make a plan because it's so helpful. I did that once. I was feeling very stressed out in my life generally. And so I kind of did an exercise like that and wrote it all out and genuinely realized there wasn't enough time in the day for everything I was trying to do. And it was time in that case to actually pick what was most important to me and
Yeah,
prioritize. Sometimes we realize there's more time in this day than we thought, but sometimes maybe we're just trying to do too much. And
yeah,
which
yeah,
things matter the most? And our health and our fitness and our wellness, mentally, spiritually, in all aspects, should be, I think, one of the most important things. But so often it's the thing that we set aside and don't make time for.
yeah. You can apply. I'm a personal trainer. I'll talk fitness all day long, but I'd be a really good life coach if I ever chose to leave this profession because it's the same. It's a lot of the same principles. In my head, the analogy of leaving your home and going to somewhere is the same thing on any goal. So if you left your home and you wanted to go to the bank, you say, I made it to the bank. So I'm going to the bank. I left the bank. Now I'm home. But you didn't count all of the roadblocks that you had. It's not a straight line. So when you left your house, you had to back up into the street. You had to make a turn. You had to avoid the roadkill in the road. You had to avoid the little kid. There was a red light. There was a stoplight. There was another turn. There was a U-turn. There was a cul-de-sac, and there was a roundabout that you had to make the third turn, but you made the second turn instead. So now you have to turn around. And then finally you made it to the bank. And then you have to do all that again. You forgot about all those turns, those stops, those distractions. Oh, there's a sale over there at that store. Let me go there before I go to the bank. But then you go later on in your day. Hey, what'd you do today? Oh, I went to the bank and I came home. You forgot about all those other things. If you thought on paper, write down how to get to work. Think about that. Like, how would you get from your house to work every day? And don't leave out any detail. Don't leave out any detail. You would see that there's a lot that you just accomplished, but the goal was that's still the same. And it makes sense in my head. I don't know if it ever makes sense whenever I explain that to people, but hopefully, if you hear this and then you hear it again and you hear it again, you'll start to say, wow, that's how goals really work. You start with a plan and then you execute it. The plan was to back up into the driveway and get to the light, but there you had to avoid the roadkill, the kid that was playing, and the stop sign. Excuse
I
me,
like
but
that because if we're not super clear on where we're trying to go, all of those little sidetracked things that come about could lead us a totally another direction. But if we're really
yeah,
clear on the end goal, when those things come in, we can swerve around them, we can adjust, but we're still going the same place. And I
yeah,
really like that analogy of planning out your trip to the bank because it's true. It never goes exactly the way that you think. And if you don't leave some flexibility and some room to make changes, that kid runs behind the car, you stop and you don't start again because you
mm-hmm.
forgot where you were going. Because my brain will do that. My brain will run in the monkey mind, I call it, off in a million directions. And the other thing I've discovered about time is if I'm not super intentional about making time for, say, fitness, since we're talking fitness,
Yeah,
but it can apply to anything. It won't just
anything.
happen. Like it doesn't just happen. Life will throw so many things at me that will sidetrack me off in somewhere else that if I don't have it a super strong why as to why I need to do this and stay super intentional, it just will never happen.
But that's the yoga in you. That's the
Yeah.
intentionality in you, and you're gonna get there. So when you take the work-life balance, if you don't have that why, the far off why, the third year why, the fifth year why, the 10-year why, it's not going to be there. I would love to buy my daughter the white Jeep when she turns 16, and I'd love to put a bow on it. But if you're not intentional, that's why I'm making X number of dollars, and this is why I'm putting so many dollars to the side, then you lose it. And you if you give up on that why, oh yeah, let me go back to that why, but I have to restart. You forgot the journey. you're not really focused on it. And so that work-life balance, put a little bit to the side and say, and if from the beginning, hey, baby girl, it's not going to happen with that white Jeep right now or in that third year because daddy didn't plan for it, then who's upset now? Who's the bad guy? I am because I've just taught my daughter a lesson that daddy's not focused.
So many things competing for our time, all the different branches, our job,
Yes.
or this, and I have found that any one of those aspects will take all of you if you let it. Like your career, if you let it, could take every moment of every day, every thought could be focused on that. And it would
Yeah.
take all of it that you would give it. Family is another one. I mean, we want to give a lot to our family, but if we're not intentional about all the areas of our life, it will take all of it. Any one of those areas could consume all of us unless we see ourselves as a
Mhm.
total person. We need this, we need our body, we need our mind, we need our soul, we need our careers, we need all these different things, and it can feel a little overwhelming. What are some things that you do to kind of manage in all of those different things?
Man, that's a good question. What are your non-negotiables? That's what I ask people. What's non-negotiable? Or I have to give people non-negotiables. Hey, you have a X number of pound weight loss. You have to get 6 days of cardio in. You have to eat an apple a day. That means that you have to require, that's going to require you to wake up at this time to get out and do your cardio. It's going to take you as long as you buy 7 apples in your grocery cart, you're going to end up a week from now with 0 apples. Don't end up with one. Don't end up with two. That means that you messed up and you missed a day. So, what's non negotiable? And
Mm.
make those commitments. What's the non negotiable of you going to the bank? So, it's the non negotiable is that you, I guess, you have your bank card, you have gas in your vehicle, or you have transportation to get there and back. Another one is just to make sure that the bank is open. So other than that, the other non-negotiables, everything else gets deleted. That's basically what I'm going with. The stop sign doesn't matter. The roadkill doesn't matter. The kid playing in the street doesn't matter because you have that goal, that why I got to go to the bank because I'm going to be overdrafted and I have to pay a bill. So all the stop sign, all the turns, the cul-de-sac, the roundabout, those don't matter because you're going to the bank and you're coming back and you accomplish that goal. Focusing on the non-negotiable, create the non-negotiables, create the intentionality of the movement, get things done.
I love that because I think the biggest thing you probably hear as a trainer as people's excuses as to why they're not doing things is I don't have time. That
Mhm.
might be the biggest thing. I mean, that's my biggest excuse on a personal level. I don't have time. I don't have time.
Mhm.
But when you have those non-negotiables in your mind, that kind of helps you focus on what to make time for and where to
Yeah.
start your day, maybe even.
For one of those 7 years of bodybuilding, I had a desire. So don't quote me on this, and don't. This is one of those. Don't try this at home. But I had the desire to have a donut every day of my competition prep, and I did have a donut, but the non-negotiable is that I gave 110%. So I had to work above and beyond to earn my donut while I competed that year. So don't try this at home, of course, if you have your goal. But that honestly, that year is that was just the season of life. I wasn't. I wanted to do things. I wanted to be a rebel of that training program. And I did win that year, that competition. But my non-negotiable was that I'm giving it all that I can, with the caveat that I could have a donut and be happy.
That little carrot at the end of the stick or the donut
Yeah,
at the end of the stick is very
yeah,
helpful.
yeah. But
So
then I did have a couple years in there where I didn't cheat at all, where I was so rigid that I said I'm giving this 110%. So when I get people, I have had several clients that do not deviate from the plan, and those are honestly they're the easiest people to work with
yeah.
because you give them the plan, they execute the plan, and everything works out, and they get the results. But most people aren't that committed. I get it. So let's find what works.
So do you work with people only in person, or do you work with people online through Zoom? Or tell me about your training.
I still talk to people. I still work with people. I guess I do. I am that life coach that I talk about because I do conversate and work with people via social media online. But 99% of the time, I'm in person with them. So I do encourage people to reach out to me to get some advice and to work out. And I'll definitely follow along. But most of the time, it's more about the people that are in front of me. I'm a gym trainer out here in St. Louis. But I do encourage you to reach out to me and I'll find a way to help you out in some
Where
way
can
or
people
a way,
find
shape, or
you?
form.
Yeah, where can people go
Social
to?
media is always the best way to reach me. I don't I don't want to have the capacity to host a website or to work with a website. It's easiest. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has social media. Facebook and Instagram are the best ways to communicate with me. I have LinkedIn. I have other social media, but I've just found that Facebook and Instagram are the easiest to communicate through. You can find my YouTube channel. It's just Armah the Trainer online, and armahthetrainer@gmail.com is a great way to reach out to me through email if that's the way that you like to go. DM me, private message me. That's a great way to talk regularly and work together with me.
I'll put the links down in the show notes for anybody that's interested in reaching out or following you along on your online journey. But the last question I have for you, Armah, that this podcast is called the Joyfulicity podcast. It's primarily focused on finding greater joy and happiness and purpose in life. How does the concept of balance in fitness, in wellness, lead to greater joy for people in their lives?
Oh man, it's called Squaring the Curve. This is a stolen idea. I can't remember who. I'd love to give credit where credit's due, but it's squaring the curve. It's going as far as you can in life, and then being done at the very end of your days instead of slowly dropping off and having a long and painful exit from this world. It's just going as long as you can, as high as you can, and then falling off. That doesn't sound very joyful, but it's knowing that you're giving your best and you're at the highest peaks that you can live at that life. I love thinking about squaring the curve and competing, whether I'm competing in bodybuilding, which I don't anymore, but now I train for a half Ironman, and it sounds really daunting, but I chose to compete uncomfortably. And so getting uncomfortable with life and trying to make the best of me as a person as I can.
My favorite Bon Jovi song is It's My Life, and it's about really
Uh huh.
living while you're alive. And that sounds to me
Yeah,
a bit like what you're saying, to just really live. Having a healthy body and mind helps you to do that.
it really does. Just laugh a whole lot.
Armah is just one of the most kind-hearted people that you will ever meet. I've never seen him
Thank
not
you.
making an effort to make other people around him feel comfortable and feel supported. And it's one of the things that I've always admired most about Armah. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being my guest today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
I appreciate it. I hope to be asked back and we can talk so much more about different topics. But no, I really appreciate you extending the offer to have a chat with you.
Fantastic. Reach out to Armah, look in the show notes for all of his links, and have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you for joining me today on the Joyfulicity podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share, and come follow me on all major social media sites at Joyfulicity or on my website, joyfulicity.com. You can follow the link in the description for this episode to all of the places that we can connect. Have a great day, everybody, and remember, dare to dream, plan to play, live to learn.